So hello and welcome to the 24th episode of the Boar Hat Tavern Podcast, a podcast all about 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross. So on the show today, we've got some pretty interesting characters we're going to be talking. We're going to be talking about Summer Roxy, which just dropped on Global today, actually. We're also going to be looking ahead to the new unit that just jumped on JP, the festival unit, the Holy War festival unit. Margaret, Ludociel, Margaret's body, however you want to put her, she's definitely an interesting character. So we might be spending a little bit of time talking about her a little bit later in the show. Turns out I gotta get these marbles out of my mouth before I start the show. Then we're gonna cap off the show today with a new game. And I don't think we've had a new format for a game since like our 5th episode. So this should be fun too. We're going to play a game called Over Under. If you're a betting person, you've probably heard of this before, but Sandyy and Novage, I had to explain to them exactly how this game works because they were not familiar with it at all. But anyways, we'll do that at the end of the show. But before we get into that, I'm joined, as always, by the co-host of the podcast, Sandyy and Novage, and I'd love to know how your guys' weeks have been. Novage, what's going on with you? I know you went golfing this week. Is that something that's normal for you?
No, it's not actually. I went to a driving range. There's a pretty well-known one in the area that, it's a ways of a drive, but they build another one. It's called Top Golf. So it's a little bit more accessible now to the area. And it was very interesting. I'm not a golfer, tried it out. Pretty high tech. They got chips in the balls that really show you how far it goes. And there's like screens at each booth and it shows you like a reenactment of where your ball went out on the field. And there's like targets out there. There's different games that you could do in terms of just tracking your ball against other players. It was interesting. It was fun, but still not for me.
Sandy, you much of a golfer? I can golf. That's not saying much. It generally goes towards the hole when I hit it, but not very far.
Maybe mini golf, but I think you had more of an interesting week than I did. Well, actually, I take that back. I had more of an interesting week because, of course, Sausage Party Escanor cosmetic. That's what I've been waiting for. So I snatched that up. So that's the only golfing I'll do is with Escanor.
So, like my son, when it's getting close to his birthday, he puts on this big chalkboard in our kitchen, like how many days it is until his birthday. Did you have how many days it was on the chalkboard in your kitchen until Sausage Party Escanor cosmetic released?
Of course. Anything for Big Daddy Escanor.
Of course. And I mean, we're not going to spend a ton of time talking about that cosmetic in the show, but hey, it's a great thing to talk about off the top though, because that probably is one of the best cosmetics ever. So if you're going to spend money on cosmetics, that's a good one. He's got that giant sausage on a stick. He's wearing his bathing suit and everything. So if you like somebody who's ridiculously ripped and shirtless as Sandy does, coming to the beach with his giant sausage on a stick, Sausage Party Escanor, look him up. But we digress. Let's get into the show today because we do have a bit to talk about. So we're going to start off with the new unit that got released today. It's part of the Summertime Festival. I guess it's that time of year again. And we've got Midsummer Sun Roxy, who just got released. She's a blue unit. Spoiler alert, I don't think she's that great. I don't know what you guys think about him, but we're going to go over the kit and everything anyways. I don't know if we're going to spend a ton of time on her because, like I said, she's not the most exciting unit in the world. But just to let everybody know what she does, her passive is what kind of makes her interesting. It's called UV Block. Every time the hero's ultimate move gauge is completely filled, allies gain a one-time evasion to enemies' attacks and debuffs for 1 turn. And it excludes Deathmatch, in case any of you were wondering. Her first skill is called Insane Surfer. Inflicts damage equal to 240 to 500% of attack on one enemy. It's a single target card, and it fills the ultimate move gauge by 1 orb on silver and 2 orbs on gold. Very, very similar to Green Escanor's single target card that everyone probably is familiar with. Skill 2 is Rubber Duck Bomb, which has one of the greatest animations. Definitely check that out in preview mode if you can. It inflicts damage equal to 120 to 180% of attack on all enemies and disables attack skills for 1 turn on silver and 2 turns on gold. If you heard of that before, it's because it's Red Gother's attack disable card that pretty much everyone these days is familiar with. Finally, her ultimate, Volcano Ash, inflicts damage equal to 700 to 1,050% of attack on one enemy and fills the ultimate move gauge by 2 orbs, the same ultimate move that all of the Roxys share. So, Sandy, I know the most exciting thing this week for you was Sausage Party Escanor. Was maybe Midsummer Sun Roxy a close second?
No, sad to say, but his cosmetic is more exciting than this unit. She seems, I mean, like the passive seems like it's good, but it's very gimmicky, you know? And I don't know, evasion is nice, but evasion is when you use that type of food that people won't know that you have evasion. I think that's the whole point. Kind of like, oh, I'm a spy, right? You want to be in the background. You don't want people to know. But this one, her passive is going to show you that basically like, hey, you know, I have the evasion on, so people can just move cards, create an ultimate. So it's not very hard to play against. And I don't know if it's as good as evasion food, but I think she's very underwhelming. I mean, Namikaze from our guild said the only good thing about her is she's thick. I mean, that's nice as a character, but otherwise her skills, I don't know. She doesn't impress me.
That is true. Netmarble knows how to work on character design from an aesthetic standpoint to get people to want to summon on characters. But I can definitely say they miss the mark sometimes on the actual technical side of the character design, in this case, the skills and abilities. Because like you said, like that evasion, it sounds nice on paper, but it only lasts one turn. Like you said, everyone's going to know when you get, I mean, like, yeah, okay, people forget about stuff and misplay all the time, but it's not a surprise. At least it shouldn't be for those paying attention, like evasion food would be. So you lose a lot of the power of it there, which again is pretty much the biggest thing in her kit, the most exciting thing anyways. Novage, do you share this assessment? Are you going to pull on her anyways because of the aesthetic character design?
You know, it's nice when you're able to get like cosmetics from duplicates of other units. I think she doesn't have as much cosmetics. I'm not sure she's maxed out on 5 different, what do you call it? Like defense cosmetics, which you'll probably get when you level her beyond 60. But I mean, she is more of a gimmick character, in my opinion. I think you could probably play around with PvE because you could always hold the AI. It's going to attack you anyways. It's not going to try to work around it. And especially with the other summer units coming out, the Merlin and the Liz, I think those 2 are probably a little bit more appealing to people, and they probably are going to wait. I mean, if you pull twice, there's 30, and then the 1 gems on that track. I mean, if people have the gems, they may try to get lucky, but I don't think I'm going to go beyond that really to go after her. But yeah, I agree with what Sandy was saying.
Yeah, it's almost too bad. I mean, hey, right now too, just the PvP meta is in a tough place. Like and most people that are looking at new units, they tend to look at them from a PvP's perspective. And yeah, I guess she's blue, which is great against all the bonds and not horrible against all the T1s you see out there. But really, she doesn't have what it takes to match up against your T1s and your bonds. Yeah, she can rush ult, and yeah, I guess her ult can hit hard if it's a very high ult level. Yeah, I guess you can attack disable those bonds, so maybe there's a little something there, but really, who are you gonna take out of your slot? Are you gonna take out, if you're running a Glue Eater, you're gonna take out Gother? Probably not. You're gonna take out Goddess Liz? Probably not. You're gonna take out T1? Definitely not, right? So she just doesn't slot in anywhere. She has to do something a lot better than the other unit she's replacing in order to take that spot and find a place in the meta. I think maybe we've talked about before, she's got that kind of gimmick to her, and gimmicky characters, they work in some scenarios. Maybe a final boss that comes down the road where you need to like evade some sort of monster hitting attack that you know is coming on a specific turn. Maybe a guild boss, who knows, that we might get down the road, or some other PvE content. But PvP Sadly, I think if you pick her up, the only reason to pick her up would be maybe for the cosmetics, like Novage said, or just to fill out that box, boost that box CC a little more. It's unfortunate, but these characters come along every once in a while. And you know what? Sometimes it's nice to have a banner where you can say, you know what? This one's an easy skip. I'm going to save my gems for the next hot thing, which there is a next hot thing around the corner because we're coming close to a Holy War Festival, which is a good segue into the next section of the show. We've got Oath of Light Margaret / Ludociel in Margaret's body. Either way, in the game, he's coined as Ludociel, which is amazing because we can use Ludociel's UR gear sets on this character. Don't want to spoil too much, so go through the story mode. You'll figure out why there's this confusion, but for all intents and purposes, we might be calling him Ludociel or Margaret, might be interchangeably. Everyone else seems to have their own kind of preference to it. We're not going to go into the character in depth, just kind of give first impressions, because a lot of people will be looking at this banner as well as the next banner next week on Global, where we're expecting the new Merlin to come out, and wondering, should I save my gems for Margaret? How should I be doing this? So we're going to chat about it a little bit. Just kind of letting everyone know what Margaret does, because I know not everyone stays up to date on what the new hotness is on JP. But Margaret / Ludociel, she has a Lost Fane card, like the Lost Fane AoE card that he uses. It's a charge card. She's got a new buff card, which is pretty cool. It's one that we haven't seen before in the game. It makes you take you and all your allies for 3 turns too on bronze, which is great. Whenever you have a buff that lasts for 3 turns, that's amazing. It makes you and your allies take less damage from type disadvantage. So if like you're a blue unit and you're getting attacked by a green unit, you're going to take less damage from them because of when this buff is up. And then conversely, also, it makes it so that you as an attacker deal more damage when you're attacking into type advantage. So if you're a blue unit attacking a red unit, not only do you get that normal bonus that you get for having type advantage, you get even more when her buff is up. She's also got some other cool stuff too. She's got a passive and a grace because she's one of the archangels which are bestowed with a grace. So the passive is cool in itself. It increases goddess race ally stats every time a buff or a stance skill is used. And this can get significant. It's capped at, I think, 40%. At 5 times, I think it's 8% each time you use it, a stance or a buff card, and it's anyone. So if Tarmiel's on the team, he's using stance. He's using stance cards. If you've got Goddess Liz on the team, she's using her buff card, her shield, or if Margaret's using her buff card, all of those count. Every time you do that, everyone gets a permanent buff for the rest of the match, you know, assuming that Margaret's still alive, for 8% each time you use it, which is amazing. And then she's also got a really cool grace too, and graces instantly make characters more powerful because they can be very powerful associate units as well. So when attacking using skills, if you've got this grace bestowed on you, for every stance or buff skill on the enemy, and that's anyone on the enemy team, not just the person you're attacking, the hero's attack is increased by 5%, and there's no cap to this. So if you're attacking into like an Assault Meliodas team, which can have, especially if there's like a Sigurd or a Droll on the other team, they can have like 30 plus buffs on 3 units, like, oh, maybe not 30, but 20 plus at least. Like, and so you're talking about having, you know, an extra 100% give or take attack on whoever's got the grace, you know, Margaret, or if you're an associate character, whoever's associated to them. That's pretty powerful in my mind. I think there's going to be a lot of uses for this character. Sandy, are you saving for Ludociel? Do you feel like Ludociel is going to be this new OP unit, or what are your first impressions of her or him?
Honestly, I will be saving my gems for her. I feel like in the current meta, she might not be, you know, quite as useful just because, you know, people might not get, you know, her all the way leveled up. But I feel like she's a character that's kind of catered toward another unit that might be coming out. You know, you mentioned the Holy War Festival. That means we should be getting new characters, new Holy War characters, right? Maybe Mael, maybe a new Sariel, a new Tarmiel, who knows? But her passive and her grace is amazing. I feel like she can be utilized not only on the field, but also you can put her as an associate and that grace takes effect. I'm very, very interested to be able to use that grace, because there's no cap. And you know me, I love Blue Dairy, love Nanashi. Those are all buffs already. But I was just like reading into her and I was like, okay, so her passive increases goddess race. And most people use like goddess Liz or, Sariel, no shame there. But I thought about Blue Liz Hawk, because she's also a goddess and she also gives the buff and has the amplified damage based on buffs. And I'm like, that would be a very interesting team because I like to play ungeared PvP, Daz. So she seems like she's kind of made for ungeared PvP. Really, really just OP if you utilize her. And I think it'd just be fun.
I'm going to have to be that guy and correct you because I think you're making a fundamental mistake on how her passive works. It's buffs on the enemy. So any buffs that you have, those don't count if I'm reading the text and the translations correctly. So we got to make sure that, so the buffs you have as Liz Hawk, those wouldn't actually count towards those attack stats. It's the person you're attacking or the team that you're attacking, how many buffs they have. Novage, I think we might have lost Sandy, so I'm going to go to you next. Good thing that she got her like 2 cents in there. Maybe she rage quit because of the little correction I made on her, but I'm sure we'll get her back soon. So what are your first thoughts? What are your thoughts on Margaret? Oh, we can hear you too, Sandy. I just can't see you, but we'll get your video feedback in shortly. I'm assuming, but Novage, what are your thoughts?
Definitely. I remember Beats kind of like predicted that this could be the possible next unit, and he was spot on. I mean, when she came out and I looked at her kit and I was like, there's so much potential. There's so much different scenarios that you could put her in. Definitely, I think high use in PvP and potential for PvE. But I mean, some of the points you guys already talked about, it's having a grace that you could sub on other units. I mean, I know a lot, guild boss runs, you could use Sario for his grace, use Tarmiel for almost anything. If you have him 6 out of 6, you're, getting your HP back. And it's just having the graces are just so helpful. I mean, at one point, Ludo, you were able to like prevent that stun in the beginning when, alt rush was a thing. People started putting him as a sub so you could still get your LV alt off. I mean, graces are very powerful in a sense. And I think you guys were talking about assault melee. If you sub this Ludo on an assault melee and, the buffs, or if you're going against one, so you're like assault melee against assault melee, it's just an endless amount of buffs there. You have your own and then the enemy has buffs. So therefore you're going to get even more. It's ridiculous. Some of the videos I've seen of how they've been using her, it seems like it's definitely fun, especially since you could carry over your UR set that you already have. So it's kind of like fun for you to kind of just already take them out for a spin, or her, depending on how you guys want to refer to this unit.
Yeah, talking about characters that have the potential to disrupt a meta, this is definitely one of them. Margaret, or Ludociel, again, however you want to call her, like having this potentially really large damage output. I've seen a lot of videos where she's just hit super hard when she's got her buff up against Bond teams, against Assault Meliodas teams. And also just even the fact that her buff works really well against red units because she's blue, and presumably whoever you're using in the meta right now, like your T1s even might be blue, or your Goddess Liz's or your Tarmiels. There's a lot of blue units that you could potentially use with her for really great effect. So it'll be interesting to see how people use it. The one thing that's kind of disappointing with these graces and getting the most out of your graces is you sit there and you might be like, okay, well, I got enough gems to summon for 1 lap on a banner, right? Chances are if you do 900 gems on a festival banner, you're probably going to end up with one copy of the unit, the guaranteed one at the end, maybe 2 or 3 if you're lucky. But then you look at it and you be like, okay, now I've got to take out a potential 6/6 stats association unit and put in this one just for the grace. So you lose out on the stats unless you are lucky enough to get her 6/6 to make sure you get the benefit of the grace. And having that cost benefit analysis that you got to do in your head is unfortunate. So it makes it so it's almost one of those units like Bon or like, you know, your red Lost Female Meliodas is where you really do get a lot of extra value if you do get them 6/6. So Netmarble is being a little sneaky here, trying to make sure that all the whales are going to do whaley things to get the most out of these units. I still think personally, even if you have her like 1 or 2 6, that Grace may be worth it in a lot of scenarios. So it might be worth considering taking the stats drop to take on that Grace, which can be very powerful. The other cool thing is, have you seen her banner? Sandy, there's a lot of characters on that banner that I kind of want, actually. So even if I summon on and I only get my 1 copy of Margaret, say if I go all 900, like the SSR units you're going to get along the way, they might be worth the trip.
Yeah, I mean, they got Festival Zeldris, Assault Melee, Ludo, Tarmiel. I'm aiming for Sario because he's just eluded me. I apologize for rage quitting earlier because I got confused between the Grace and the passive.
It's all right. You're back.
I'm back. But yeah, I mean, Chandler's on there, and I mean, they make all good associates and they're useful in any kind of content. So I think that banner is definitely a banner that is worth splurging on.
Yeah, they also have all the 10 Commandment coin shop units too, which I've got like 1 copy of most of them, and like they're pretty good associates. So usually when you go like 900 on a banner, there's always like that 1 unit you just keep pulling over and over again. If it's any of these units, I'd be happy. Like we've got Droll, Zeldris, Gloxinia, Gallon, Melascula, Monspeed, Nestarossa. I made a list, and I'm excited to get any of them because I don't have any of those coin shop units 6/6. Coin shop can be such a ripoff. It's a lot of plat coins. So generally, like I'd only usually try and use the plat shop to get a copy of a key unit, and then just hope for banners like this to get duplicates. But yeah, that's got me pretty excited too. But Sandy, I also think you really hit the nail on the head when you said that Margaret is really here possibly for future units. One of the nice things about JP is we get to see those in advance, but one of the unfortunate things is we've been catching up. Well, we've been catching up more than we have in the past few months to JP, but we're still only like a few weeks behind JP, so we don't get like as much insight as we used to get back in the day when JP was like 4 months ahead of us. So you'd be able to plan like really far in advance. Now we're sitting here being like, I wonder who's afterwards. Like, who's the next festival unit going to be? Are we going to get Mael, Esteros, and maybe the Sariel Tarmiel might be on like the next banner for all we know, right? But a lot of these characters that people are speculating are going to be good with Margaret have been leaked to certain extents in the game files as well. So it'll be interesting to see if any of them pop up anytime soon. All right. So does anyone else have any thoughts on the new Margaret / Ludociel? I think we've pretty much covered all our bases here. I feel like we might have a shorter show than usual. Maybe our game will take longer than we expect. I guess we'll have to see how that goes. Next week, though, we're going to be talking about Merlin, who we're presuming is coming out next week, and the new red Lizhawk. So hopefully we'll have a couple new characters to talk about next show, and maybe by then, too, we'll even hear about some more sneak peeks on JP to see who can complement this new Ludociel Margaret. That being said, time to move into the featured comment. Sandy, you want to take that one away for us?
Yeah, so every week we feature a comment wherever you guys leave those comments for us. Discord, here, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. But this week, it seems like a lot of our comments come from YouTube. So that's great. This one comes from Clark Boatwright. And Clark says, as always, great job. Wish I had guildies like you. Would make the game much more enjoyable. I enjoy these shows more than 7DSGC. So the database. Ha! You know what? Like, honestly, join us. We're recruiting right now, right, Daz?
I think so, yeah. And you know what? Like, not only us, there are a lot of great communities, which I'd be happy to vouch for. They're always recruiting. And I think if you have had a bad experience in the past, Clark, just look around a little bit and just try and vet guilds. There's more people looking for your services than there are people that are looking for guilds. So it's a seller's market, I guess, if you want to call it that, and you're the seller. So, look out there, post on Discord. There's a lot of public Discords. There's a public Reddit Discord. Seaton's got a very active Discord, even though he's not active in the game anymore, where you can post that you want to join a guild, and there's going to be a bunch of people that are going to contact you. But also, you can also check out in our description below, our Discord's there too. We've got 5 guilds in our alliance of guilds, from Denied, which is a super try-hard guild, all the way down to casual guilds too. So if it's something that you're interested in, pop on by, say hi. Maybe we'll find a spot for you too. And our community is great. Again, like so many others, don't get disheartened by maybe your past experience in guilds. So that's my 2 cents for the day. But yeah, I guess that leads us into our over-under game. So I'm going to try my best to explain this. It's my first time having to explain, other than having to explain it to Sandy and Novage off camera earlier. So the way that over-under works, I'm going to ask a question to Sandy and Novage. We're going to take turns. So let's just say, for the sake of the argument, I start with Sandy. So I'll ask a question, and it'll be one with a numerical response. So Sandy has to give her best guess as to what number the answer will be. Okay. And then Novage will be like, I think it's over that, or he'll say, I think it's under that number that you guessed. And whoever's right, if Sandy is, if Novage is right by saying over, then he gets the point. If he's wrong and it's actually under, then Sandy gets the point. So we've got 10 questions lined up today. We'll just alternate back and forth. The first question, though, I'll send to Sandy. We'll make each one worth 1 point. Why not? We'll keep it nice and simple. So the first question, Sandy, are you ready for this? This is tough, because I tried to find ones that don't have obvious answers, because the whole game gets kind of ruined if you get the question right, because then there's no way Novage can get it, possibly has a chance here, right? I guess you can say over, under, or she's right, but I don't know, maybe that's a little bit of a gamble on itself. Okay, so the first question, Sandy, I've been delaying too long. What was the revenue generated by Grand Cross in the first quarter of 2021? So how much money did Grand Cross as a video game pull into the first 3 months of 2021? Take a guess, and know what you'll have to say if it's over or under.
All right. Business mind here, Sandy. They usually do like $1 million a day, maybe 800 to $1 million. I'm going to say 22 million.
22 million. Okay, Novage, are you going over or are you going under?
For the first 3 months when they released?
Nope, this is the first quarter of 2021. So I'm presuming January, February, March, but who knows when their fiscal year is. I like that you're like overthinking it so much that that's like a part of your calculation. You're like, so which quarter is this? Which year is this?
I'm going to say it's over what she said.
Over. And you are correct. The actual number, I had to go through the financial statements and I had to convert currencies, but in terms of US dollars, the dollar value we're talking about, is actually $74.4 million they made in the first 3 months. So they're still making a decent amount of coin. So Novage takes the first one. Okay, Novage, it's a lot easier when you say the over-under, isn't it? Now you got to be the one who guesses the number. So what, in this one, you can actually use a decimal number. What is the current rating for Grand Cross in the Google Play Store? No cheating.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's probably at 3.9.
3.9. And Sandy, are we going over or are we going under?
Oh, man. With the whole Seaton and, we all lobbied. I'm gonna go under.
It's actually over. The Play Store rating has bounced back. It's now 4.3 since we did the boycott. So point goes to Sandy. Okay. Now we're going back to Sandy for the question. This one is one that's more specific to our guild, so no one else might know the answer to this, but how many seasons of Guild Wars has our guild Denied been in? Sandy, what's your guess?
I don't even know how many. 12.
12 seasons. Novage, are you going to say over or under?
I am going to say under.
And you are correct. I don't think there have been even 12 seasons of Guild Wars. I know it feels like that sometimes. We've been in 7 seasons. So 7 is the correct answer. That's all right. These questions, they're not easy. They're designed to be not easy. That's kind of the point. Okay. So going back to Novage for the question. How many days since the release of Grand Cross and Global? And this is as of August 3rd, 2021, the date that we recorded this show.
You say how many days?
How many days, sir? You don't whip out the calculator. Just go off the top of your head.
900 days?
900 days. Sandy's at
Actually,
over.
No. I'm going to change it. I'm going to say...
He didn't lock it in.
I'm going to revert that. Let's go with 750.
750. Over or under, Sandy?
Under.
Under is correct. It's actually 518 days. The game released March 3rd, 2020. So 518 days is the correct response. Okay, going back to Sandy. What percentage of attack does T1's Flood card give on gold? This is actually one where someone might get it right. So just we'll have to see what Sandy thinks, and if no one thinks it's too high or too low. What's the attack modifier on that Flood card?
525.
525. Novage, higher or lower? Over or under, I guess.
Higher.
Oh, you think it's higher than 525? It's actually not. It's lower. It's 500. I was really worried Sandy might get that right on the head, but point goes to Sandy. So right now we've got Sandy.
I think
we've got Sandy.
Maybe I was thinking of Sigur's Flood.
Oh, maybe.
Because his yeah. There's how many Flood cards in the game? 3?
I have no idea. Well, I guess Merlin, the new Merlin's going to have one, but then other than that, I think one of like the Stranger Things collab characters had a Flood card, but we don't use him, so he doesn't count. But anyways, right now it's Sandy has 3 points and Novage has 2. Nice and tight. Okay. Next question goes to Novage. How many characters are on Grand Cross on Global?
That is a very good question.
It is a very good question, and one that I hope you don't know to make this interesting.
Let's go with 85.
85. Sandy, is that too low or too high?
That is too low.
You are correct. The correct response is more than double that. 180. 180 characters as of today in Grand Cross. All right, Novage, you're slipping behind, bud. Don't let Sandy run away with it. So, Sandy, I know you're pretty excited. Next question is, how many lives has Elizabeth lived under her 3,000-year curse? So what life? How many lives? Because she keeps getting reincarnated, right, in the story. So how many lives has she lived?
Darn. I'm stuck between two, like 260 or 300. I'll go with 260.
260 lives. Novage, you going over or you going under?
I want to say under.
You're correct. 107th life is the current one that she's on right now. So Novage, ooh, you're catching up. So right now we've got Sandy with 4, Novage with 3. Okay. This one, I wish I kind of timed it better, so this would be one I was asking Sandy, but I'm asking Novage instead. What is the current, and this is as about half an hour ago, because that's when I checked, the current high score on KLAC for this week on Guild Boss? And remember, we're only a few days in, so I guess factor that into your decision making.
I did not check what the current score is.
Well, I sure hope you didn't. Just a rough estimate, and saying you'll have to go higher or lower. How high do you think people are pushing this week?
Probably not pushing very much. I'm going to go maybe 12,000.
12,000. Sandy, is that, are you going over or are you going under?
I'm going to go under.
You're going under. Okay, interesting. It's actually over. 17,479.
Someone's pushing.
Someone's
pushing. I
pushing.
didn't even sign in yet.
Novage ties it up, which is great because we only have 2 more questions left. Which one should I choose first? I'll go with this one. Okay, so Sandy, what is the highest account CC of any player in Grand Cross currently on Global? What's that number 1 spot got for account CC?
Oh my God. 8.2?
8.2. Novage, over or under?
I believe there's higher CC as the max right now.
You're correct. Razor Blades from Void has 9.4 million CC. I don't know how that's possible, but apparently it is. So Novage pulls ahead. He's got a little streak going. I mistakenly did. I was wondering in my head, I was like, why do I always do 9 questions? I was like, 10 makes such a much better number. It's probably to avoid ties. Past Daz was smart. Current Daz wasn't. I actually only did 10 questions. So Sandy, you can tie it. And everyone loves ties, but still, you can tie it with this one here. So I'll start with Novage, so this is the question I need to ask him now, is how many chapters are there in the main Grand Cross storyline to date?
That is a very good question.
These are all very good questions. I wrote them. Of course they're good questions, Novage.
Chapter, I would say there's 28 chapters.
28. Sandy, are you going to take this one? Is it higher or lower than 28?
Oh, man. I think it's lower.
And you were correct. There's 18 chapters of the main storyline in the game. We finished with a tie, and that feels so unsatisfying, but you know what, that is what it is. Congratulations to both of you. We'll have to have the I guess the repeat or like the tiebreaker another week for over under, but I hope everyone liked that game. We thought we'd try something different. If you liked it, if you didn't, tell us in the comments, tell us in the chat, tell us wherever you happen to be able to communicate with us. Pop in our Discord, yell at us, praise us, do whatever you want to do. Again, the link for the Discord will be in our not our comments, in the description below the video or wherever you happen to be listening to this to. Okay, and I guess that's it for the week, guys. It was kind of a short one, but it was a short but sweet one. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today at the Boar Hat Tavern, a 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross podcast. We stream this show live on Twitch, but good luck trying to figure out when. We like to surprise people because we have very complicated work schedules, but we do. And we've been kind of every other week for the past month or two, but we're hoping to go back to a regular weekly schedule. We do apologize, but real life, for some reason, takes precedence. I guess it pays the bills, you know how things are. If you'd like to get in touch with us, though, you can email us anytime. Anytime. I really mean that. Podcast at boarhattavern.com. That's one of the great things about email. We don't have to be there when you try and contact us. Or you can follow us on Instagram or Twitter at Boar Hat Tavern. All 3 of us, as we've said a couple times on the show so far, are members of the Global Guild Denied. It's part of the Scoundrels Alliance. If you'd like to join our ranks or join some of our casual guilds or semi-competitive, or we've even got 2 competitive guilds in our alliance, pop into our Discord service. Again, Discord server. Again, the links are going to be in the description. You can also subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you happen to find those podcasts online. I'm sure there's other services that we don't even know where you can subscribe to us on. You can also find our shows on our website, boarhattavern.com, which I have not visited in months, but still, it's there and it's alive, apparently. We'd also like to thank Madeline Marois for crafting our killer logo, Streetwise Rhapsody from YouTube for composing our awesome cover of the Grand Cross theme song that we use for our intro, and Andre Bobe from ArtStation for letting us use his outstanding 3D renders of the Boar Hat Tavern for our pre-live and post-video splash screens. You can find all their work as well in the descriptions below. Thanks everybody for listening. Have a great week.
Bye.